This morning, Atmosphere announced that their next album, titled The Day Before Halloween, will be dropping, conveniently, the day before Halloween, October 30th. To accompany this announcement, they also released the first single for this album, titled Blotter Acid Reflux Syndrome. Let's not waste any time. Let's go bar for bar and break down these lyrics. First off is the title of the track, Blotter Acid Reflux Syndrome. If you take the first letter of each word there, you get bars. So this might just be a track full of bars, or in reference to bars. Another thing of note is blotter acid is in reference to LSD, and reflux syndrome, or acid reflux syndrome, is typically just a syndrome that people have when they have a kind of heartburn, but a little bit worse. The reflux part of it is kind of a recurring thing. So seeing that it's a blotter acid reflux syndrome, it's probably going to be a recurring theme throughout this track. So the song starts off with an intro. There's a bit of a instrumental play too, but once we get to the lyrics, the intro starts off, I've got so much trouble on my A. Yesterday I saw 2 houseflies going at it in the bathroom like a couple of bar flies. It was disgusting, but not because of the fucking. It's just a random thought that everyone's an offspring of something. With those lines, it's literally just Slug going into the bathroom, and he's like, yo, are those houseflies fucking? At least that's how he wants you to kind of perceive this track, I feel. Because starting off a track with those lines is just kind of weird. He feels disgusted, but not because of the fucking, because fucking is just, to him, a regular thing. Like, everyone is an offering of something. So he understands that it is a natural thing. Maybe it's just disgusting because it's in his bathroom though. A whole lot of bacteria standing on the rocky banks of Lake Superior, trying to watch the weather, keep a finger on the artery, stop pretending that you ain't left the party without a part of me. A whole lot of bacteria relating to the bathroom, but also the houseflies who can carry bacteria around, who knows where they've been. Also, if they were barflies being people in the bar. Like, people in the bar can be kind of gross sometimes. So there's just a whole lot of bacteria in general. Or maybe he's just being, like, looking at it from a super wide scope, and he's comparing everyone to bacteria, considering how small we are in terms of the universe. And given that this song has an LSD reference to it immediately from the title, he could very well be thinking about these sorts of things. By standing on the lake, you're kind of taking in nature and realizing how big the world is compared to what your world is. So he's just like, well, you're just kind of sitting there looking at the weather, which also could just be a side effect of the LSD. I believe you're from the future and you came back to waste me, but I think you probably won't because you like me. We in the shadow of the shade of the moonlight. Let's say goodnight while it's still a good night, alright? So that ties into the previous line, stop pretending you ain't left the party with a part of me. When you're at a party by yourself or with your friends, sometimes you meet somebody and you have a connection, and when they have to leave, you're just like, it feels like something's being taken away from you. But saying, I believe you're from the future and you came back to waste me, is almost like he's thinking about this person as a detriment to himself, which again could just be himself. Seeing as he went into the bathroom and he is probably already on something here, he could just be talking to his reflection. Like, literally his reflection, not even him thinking about it. Like, he could just be standing in front of the mirror talking to himself. Him talking to himself is just like, you're from the future and you're come back to waste me. So that kind of plays into the reflux part where it's a recurring thing. But I think you probably won't because you like me. So even in your lowest moments, you still feel like you like yourself. And that isn't the case for everyone. I totally understand that. But I think just in general, when you're in a different state of mind, you start to really remember like that you do like yourself, even if you don't like yourself regularly. And so because of that realization, you're just going to be like, well, I'm good where I am. I don't need to end this. And let's just say good night while still a good night, being, yo, let's just go to sleep and it'll be good after this. Like, we'll just sleep it off. I'm feeling maybe it's getting closer to closing time. Lock the door, flip over the sign, and I've got so much trouble on my mind. This could be him talking about a bar because of the barflies in the beginning. But again, I think it is just him talking to himself. So it's getting closer to closing time, like, yo, I gotta go to bed. He needs to close his mind off. Lock the door, flip over the sign. Like, don't let anyone in. Just let him, or don't, not even like other people, don't let any other sources of influence get in. So whether that be his reflection, other people, things around him, like he wants to just be at peace with what's there. This goes in the second verse. I'm spilling my bottle upon your table. I'm willing and able as a tornado. I wear it like the heart you have tattooed to your sleeve. You tear it all apart to gather what you need. Spilling my bottle upon your table, meaning, I don't think he's talking about like a bottle of alcohol or a bottle of water. I think he's talking about himself. He's spilling his bottle, being, he's just talking about everything. Like he's just saying everything that comes to his mind and telling everything about him onto someone's table, which again could be himself or someone else entirely. I'm as willing and able as a tornado. Like, there's so much going on in his mind that it's become a tornado of sorts. I mean, oftentimes when people depict tornadoes in their mind, it's kind of like a bunch of papers just flying around in circles, almost like a whirlwind, like when someone runs out of an office in cartoons and there's just a bunch of papers flying behind them. I wear it like the heart you tattoo to your sleeve. You tear it all apart to gather what you need. He's, again, probably talking to himself. He's wearing this openness, like having his heart on his sleeve. And having your heart on your sleeve is really just being willing and open to show love and give love and just show emotion in general, I'd say, to people. And then tearing it apart to gather what you need is using that to your advantage. So you tear things apart and then you find out what you actually need out of it. So in the case of it being a tornado in their mind, it's like you're picking up whatever's left because that's probably what's really relevant and necessary. Stop all the madness, box up all the fragments, stick a book of stamps to the top of the package. Say, please deliver this to the previous owner. I wrote my name up in the corner and the S was a cobra. So basically he's saying, he's telling either himself or someone's telling him, yo, stop it, focus, stop going crazy. Kind of in a way to sober up. And boxing up the fragments being pick up the pieces. Because when there is a tornado, there's going to be pieces everywhere. I wrote my name up in the corner and the S was a cobra. So his name, or Slug's name is, well, Slug, which also starts with an S, but his real name is Sean, which also starts with an S. So he could have written his name, and the S could have literally been drawn in as a cobra, or he's just seeing things and the S turned into a cobra. Having it be a snake kind of gives it this sort of non-happy sort of feel, if that makes sense. Because snakes always have this negative connotation. So putting a box of whatever's left essentially together and sending it out with your name as a cobra can be like, yo, I'm just gonna get rid of this stuff. Like, I don't want anything to do with it. Or whoever he's sending it to is in for a surprise, given what's inside. Mix up the ingredients how I showed you. You probably think I'm an idiot though, don't you? Never thought I'd grow to be anything more than just another Gomer being told to shut up, soldier. You probably think I'm an idiot. Is just like him either looking back on what he was doing during this period or what the other person, or he assumes the other person thinks of him. And the idiot line carries through to the Gomer bit, where he's saying, I never thought I'd be anything more than a Gomer. Gomer is just someone who is not, or someone who's inept in what they're supposed to be doing. Like he's not very. He's basically just putting himself down. Just another Gomer being told, shut up, soldier. Like, if he was in the army, there would be people saying, yo, just shut up, soldier. Looking over your shoulder before stepping over the line, I can turn the water in your toilet bowl to wine, and I've got so much trouble on my mind. Looking over your shoulder before you step over the line, you want to make sure that this is what you want to do. And then turning the water in your bowl to wine is him basically saying, or maybe just in a different place, where he's saying like, yo, what I'm saying is like Scripture. Not necessarily saying that he is thinking of himself as Jesus, but he could be in that mindset where if he's looking in the mirror or looking at someone else, he can just assume that, yo, you're going to save me and turn this mess and this water that's in the toilet bowl next to me into wine. And that also plays back into the thought that this could just be him in his bathroom still, like talking to himself, his reflection. This goes into the third verse. I can't help but to think back before the shrink wrap, back before the sound man would sabotage with feedback. He's reflecting. Back before the shrink wrap, like the psychoanalysis of himself, like way back in the day, because he's been doing this for a long time. Back before the sound man was sabotage with feedback, like back before he was slug of atmosphere, like way back. All I wanted was to be part of something larger than the sum of the parts. My dogs will bark at the sharks. And it's my darkest parts that seem to get all the shine. That's when I start my departure, then I remember the rhyme. It goes, I got so much trouble on my... Never mind, refuse to lose. That whole bit is him basically saying, like, back in the day, I wanted to be something bigger than this. Like, I didn't want to just be this guy that raps. Like, I don't think he expected himself to be this guy or for it to have turned out this way. All he wanted to do was be part of something larger than just the sum of the parts. And it's my darkest parts that seem to get all the shine. Atmosphere, if you are new to them, I guess, haven't always done this sort of, I guess, dad rap, you can call it. That's not really meant to be a bad thing, but back in the day, pretty much before, like right around, back around the When Life Gives You Lemons album and the Family Ties album, I believe that it was. That was when they were still doing this more emo, sad, depressing as fuck rap. Like not even about Slug himself, but just in general. I mean, previously before that with the Lucy Ford stuff and God Loves Ugly and Seven's Travels, all that was a lot more focused on Slug. So he's saying all the darkest parts that I write are what gets all the attention. Obviously, people change. Like, he can't always be rapping about that. So it's just something that he has acknowledged, it seems. And yeah, I think that about wraps up this track. There's no more verses, but overall, I think this track was pretty good. It's a lot more in depth than what I've looked at, I feel. I'm sure there's a lot more to it, is what I mean. Because I'm not familiar with acid. So I don't know how any of this, or how that plays into the song. I assume it's him literally just going to the bathroom and talking to himself, and this trip is just going on for what seems like a day or so. But who knows? Well, I mean, Slug knows. But regardless, this is a really good track. And if this is just the single for the album, and given that this is titled The Day Before Halloween, I'm very excited. I just in general enjoy spooky season. Not necessarily going to go and watch a bunch of scary movies, but I like the ideas and I like the theming. Anyways, let me know in the comments below if I missed anything, because I'm almost certain I did this time around, just because my knowledge on acid is very minimal. So please let me know what I misinterpreted and what I missed. Also, like and subscribe if you want to see more content and breakdowns like this in the future. Thank you for watching, and please stay safe out there.